Let's take a first look at the new Red Bull RB20. Traditionally, Red Bull works on their new car until the last minute and only show their real new car at the first test. So traditionally, you shouldn't expect too much from Red Bull car launches, because they just do a livery launch, and the livery is always the same at Red Bull, on a show car or on an old car. But this year was different. Red Bull actually showed the new car, but as always, we have to be very careful. Red Bull would never show the really interesting bits before they really have to. So let's start at the front. The nose now connects to the first front wing element, but because of the large carbon fiber cover here, we cannot really be sure how the real nose will look like. It is possible that they will take this cover off later and there is a slot underneath, because the crash structure is further back. We cannot say too much about the front wing, as this one might look different at testing already. They kept their anti-dive pull rod front suspension, and the really interesting and obvious bit is the bodywork. But as always with Adrian Newey designs, the most interesting bits are usually not the ones in plain sight. So funny about Red Bull's rendering was that we couldn't see any inlets except the airbox. In the past, Red Bull moved the lower inlet lip higher and higher to push more air into the undercut area. That way, they get more clean air around the side pods to the back to produce downforce, and they keep the front wheel wake outboard. So the inlet was on top, but now there's no inlet anymore. Instead, we could see some structures which looked like a vertical inlet. But again, this is Red Bull and we will have to wait and see if this is still there at testing. So this vertical inlet is very similar to Ferrari's duct last year, which they retained. So there must be some aerodynamic benefit. Last year, the understanding was that this duct collects potential boundary layer and vents it above to clean up the flow in the undercut area. But for my taste, this duct was a bit too big for just boundary layer. So Red Bull could use it for the same reason or to cool their car with these inlets. But if they use it for cooling, why would they want to collect boundary layer in this inlet? That would reduce the cooling's efficiency. It is more likely that there are additional horizontal inlets underneath the upper lip. Advantage of this system is that the important upper side is completely clean now. They can now downwash lots of clean air down into their slim rear end onto the beam wing to create more downforce. And the bulgy upper bodywork helps with that. Already last year we talked about the clumsy look of the Mercedes with its two large sausages on top and how it helps to keep the cockpit losses up and prevents them from spilling down into the important area. It looks like Red Bull liked the idea and does the same now. These have to comply with the R50 rule of the bodywork, so these sausages are pretty big, and Red Bull keeps them straight for quite long, to keep the losses inside. At the back, we have a pretty steep slope to create more downwash and to exit the losses between beam and rear wing, so they don't hit anything important. And our old friend, the so-called suspension opening, is still there. At the rear wing we can see the detached flap, and of course we couldn't see the diffuser and the floor edge was covered. So Red Bull developed their concept further in a pretty aggressive way and copied features of Ferrari and Mercedes, while everybody else copies Red Bull. How do you like the new RB20? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to be part of F1 and work in the technical development of F1 teams, check out my online career accelerator program. It's an intensive 6-week course which helps you to prepare yourself for a career in F1 with CATIA V6 licenses and lots of valuable knowledge you can only get from people who worked in the industry. The first people who finished this course are already working in F1's aero departments, so you could be the next one. Check out the course with the link below and make sure you state that you found the course through my YouTube channel. See you at the next one.